Hi, welcome to the course Writing for Visual Journalism. This is Oliur San. I will be your tutor for this course, Writing for Visual Journalism. To start with, we need to know writing for visual journalism has many different aspects. From the beginning of journalism, since the mid-19th century in Europe and also in the 19th century in India and Southeast Asia in general, we have seen practices which have encompassed texts along with photographs and other many different practices, including videographs when the videographing technology were available. Now, in this course, Writing for Visual Journalism, we will be learning about a few things. First, we will learn about methods and practices which are available for writing for visual journalism, and which includes photojournalism, videography, and other digital medias and methods that we are seeing currently in practice. So methods and practice would include different types of writings and how we can practice those methods and how we can establish and even in some cases set our new individual practice methods in light of the existing methods. Then we will learn about writing for pictures. Now, writing for pictures would include writing photo captions and also might sometimes even include a narrative or perhaps a longer story when required. So we will learn about those things which are required to write for pictures in general. Then we will learn about newsmaking. Now, when we say newsmaking, it means we are turning our daily realities into news. So newsmaking would include all these aspects which are essential to present an event or any other daily activities or newsworthy events, and how we can ourselves document those events in cases and turn it into news. And in this case, we will have a very specific focus on only the writing aspect of those events. So we will definitely, as a photographer or as a visual journalist, people will be doing the visuals, but what is more challenging in this aspect is that when you are acting as a photographer or working as a photographer or as a videographer, you would often find that it's a challenge for you to write for them, because definitely when they're working with visuals, they're presumably not quite efficient as a writer. But when we are trying to write for visual journalistic pieces, it's very obvious that one will also have to act as a writer, and globally we have seen that many successful photographers and visual journalists are great writers themselves. Now, that's something that we will definitely all aspire to be, but it takes years of practice and also efficiency, and definitely a good source of knowledge as can be this one to develop into a very great writer or a good writer who would also be very efficient as a visual journalist and would be able to present their work through writing. Later, we will also learn about planning and making a project or producing a project. Now, that would include writing for project proposals, writing grant applications, and even trying to get a commission for a work or an assignment. So as a visual journalist, it's often a very difficult task to get funding for one's project. So we have many different grants which are available online and by various agencies and international news medias, but as a photojournalist or as a visual journalist, it's often a struggle to write for them, because one's expertise as a visual journalist is definitely with the visuals. So when someone is trying to represent their work through writing to someone else, it definitely takes a good piece of writing to showcase your own work. And that's where the challenge sets in, because we are very good photographers in many cases, but when it comes down to writing, maybe our writing is not that effective, or maybe it's not strong, or we are missing a couple of points that we probably don't know which should have been included in our grants proposal, and maybe at the end it ultimately results in rejection. So that's something we need to think about, and there might be a couple of points that we can discuss and try to find out what make a very strong what needs to needs to be included in a very strong proposal, which ultimately would be successful. So these are the few things that we would discuss throughout this course. We have divided this whole course into separate sessions. As I have just mentioned, it would be first an introductory lesson on different types of writing for visual journalism, and then we will discuss about with a specific focus on how to write for pictures, and then we will talk about news making, how we can turn realities into news, and then we will talk about planning and producing a project, which would include writing for grants proposal and how we can get commission for an assignment or for some other work that we are trying to do. So just as a general practice for writing, since as a visual journalist or as an aspiring visual journalist, we are often not quite familiar with the practices of writing, and we have perhaps not even practiced writing as such, because for visual journalism, whenever we are trying to showcase our work, whenever our work is being displayed somewhere or wherever it's being published in a newspaper or in a magazine, it's often required that we provide a caption for it, and we often have to provide a description for it. So if we don't have, if we are not quite familiar with the practices of writing, then it becomes quite a struggle to do that. So in order for that, we will be setting up an assignment. So for example, if you just think about your world around you, so for example, if you're sitting in a room right now, you can just simply try to describe what's around you. So for example, if you're sitting here in this position, just try to give a general description. So what it's going to do is you would start to become aware of your surrounding, and you would also try to understand when you are trying to write about the world around you, or for example in this case in the room that you're sitting in right now, or wherever you're sitting or standing or wherever you are watching it from, if you just try to take a moment and describe what you see around you, that description would often, you would see that you are having to notice a few things, you would have to pick up a few things, you are only perhaps giving attention to a certain detail. So as a writing practice, it can be a good activity as well, and it can also get you to the sort of mindset that you need for a writing. So just take a moment and give a general description of the world, of the room around you, or wherever you are in right now. Just try to describe it in about 100 words and see what details you can come up with and what details you are missing out. So that's something that would also give you a sense of awareness and also make you aware of the kind of words that you choose to describe your surrounding. So let's say if you sit in a room, you would perhaps be looking at a lot of different furnitures, or maybe indoor decorations, maybe your tables, maybe some books. So just try to focus on a few things and describe your surroundings. So it's not going to be just the object, it's also going to be the environment. So for example, if you're sitting in a room which is very cold, or which is very hot, or which has a very moderate temperature, that's also something that you need to think about, and that's also something that you can include in your writing. So it's not just the physical world, as in just furnitures and tables and stuffs like that. It's also the environment that you're sitting in. So just try to describe in the room or the surrounding around you what you see, if there is any noise or if there's any sound that you can hear. Maybe also include that in your writing. So let's say if we think of this as in terms of human senses. So you have auditory senses, so whatever that you can perceive through your auditory senses, so whatever the sounds you're hearing, keep that in your description, maybe 1 or 2 lines. And then you have visual senses, so whatever you can see around you, just choose a few things that you think would represent your surrounding in the best possible way. So just try to focus on those details and give a visual description of what you see in another 1 or 2 words. And then you have perhaps if you can smell something, and if that smell a particular smell, because in many cases we know that a surrounding has a particular smell. So for example, your study room, maybe it has a predominant smell of books, or perhaps if you're using any chemicals or anything else to preserve your books, then maybe that smell is dominant in that room. Or maybe if you're working in a studio, then you have the sorts of chemicals that are used in the studio, and therefore we would often find that smell is very distinctive in many different surroundings, and it tells a lot about the world around you. So also try to consider that, and just maybe try to put that in description. So through this practice, what we are trying to do is we are just simply trying to put into words of the things that we experience as a whole through our all senses. And as a writer, that's going to help you in many different ways. So whenever you are going out for an assignment, or you are going out for a work to take pictures, or to take or to record videos, when you ultimately try to put that into writing, what you are doing is already there. So you have your photographs, you know what you see, but when you are trying to put that into words, it's not just about the things that you only see in the photograph, or only the things that you have recorded in the video. It's also about what you have experienced in general, and just try to put that into a perspective, try to put that into a context, and then making it comprehensible for the audience. So as a visual journalist, that is what your task is, to make comprehensible the world that you have experienced, or the events that you have experienced, and now you are trying to let the world know about it, or let general people know about it. So you would need writing skills for that, and this exercise will help you, just as a very general and a basic exercise, just get you to the point where you start to become a general writer, let's say, one who is aware of one's surrounding, and one who can also translate his or her surrounding into words. So just for a basic writing exercise, maybe we can start with that for this class. In the next class, we will know about different types of writing for visual journalism, and what we would require to practice for our daily work, or our job as a visual journalist. So thank you. We'll see you in the next class.